I have posted several different ways that you can get help for today's reading activity in StudySync. So you will need to go to StudySync to complete this, but I've also on today's agenda posted a video of the balcony scene. If you were not here and you didn't see that in class, you can rewatch that. I've also posted the original and modern translation of all of Act 2. And if you listen further, I'm going to recap a little bit and actually give you some of the answers. Yesterday in class, I know that many of you are still sick or quarantined, but we talked about how one of our state standards that we have to meet is understanding character motivation. And actually, that's one of your questions today in StudySync. It's asking you why the friar agreed to help Romeo and Juliet, even though it's just absurd that they're 14 and met each other about 90 minutes ago and they're wanting to get married. And if we were reading smoothly in class and you were listening, you would understand that the friar realizes that this is really unwise, and he gives them a lot of good advice. And to paraphrase in my own words some of his advice, he says that those that move too quickly stumble, meaning if you rush into a big life decision, it's not going to go well for you. He also chastises Romeo for being fickle. He's like, just yesterday you were in love with Lazaline, and now you're in love with this girl, and he says that it's infatuation and not love. But then he has a thought that he shares out loud that maybe this marriage would be the one thing to bring the two families together. And because of that, he agrees to marry them. And he's hoping that it will bring peace to Verona. If you remember in Act 1, the prince shares that the public people in Verona have been, their peace has been disturbed thrice. He says thrice, which means 3 times, and that this is growing, that the citizens are growing really frustrated. So the friar is seemingly hoping to help out the town by agreeing to secretly marry them. Then after that scene, we moved on to scene 4, which was Mercutio, Benvolio, and Romeo. And to kind of summarize what happened in that scene, if you were not here and don't want to take the time to read it, Benvolio and Mercutio are annoyed that Romeo lost them on purpose. And one of them says, the slip, you gave us the slip, meaning you just dodged away and lost yourself. And then Romeo says that I had really important business to take care of. And I know that all of the groups were reading the modern translation, so then Mercutio replies quite boldly by essentially saying he's full of crap. And obviously that's my own words, and that's a little bit more tame than what Mercutio said. Then Mercutio and Romeo get in this big exchange of verbal wits, which happens a lot with Mercutio. And they have news to share with Romeo that Tybalt has sent a letter that is a challenge on Romeo's life. And the reason for this is, if you remember in scene 1 at the party, Tybalt realized that the Montagues had snuck in and he wanted to do away with them. He wanted to kick them out. And Lord Capulet would not allow that. And he says that they'll be tolerated and you will tolerate them. And then Tybalt argues back, and Lord Capulet basically says, are you the man of this house or am I? I'm in charge. You need to shut up. And Tybalt is really embarrassed because he gets in trouble in front of everyone. And he essentially kind of walks away with his tail between his legs. And he says, I'm not going to forget this. I was like, I'll let this go right now, but I will get revenge. So we can, kind of infer what's going to be happening, that Tybalt is going to send this challenge on Romeo's life, and even Romeo's best friends are saying, hey, you can't beat him in a sword fight. So this is going to be a big problem because Tybalt is Juliet's cousin, and they are actually very close. They have grown up together. And if Romeo is going to marry Juliet and then Juliet's cousin wants to kill him, obviously that is not going to be good for the marital front. Now, these quiz questions, a few tips that I want you to remember. First of all, take your time. Second of all, you can almost always eliminate two. I've went through and I've read them carefully, and most of them have two answers that are totally wrong. So make sure that you're using that strategy that we've talked about a lot with StudySync. And then you can also use any resource on the internet to look them up. But you need to get the quiz done and the vocabulary for today. Remember, it's not really a quiz, it's just reading comprehension questions. But that is all I have for your e-learning today. See you tomorrow.